Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty B. Detley.
And I'm Shad Youngblood.
This week, we cover The Sentinel.
It begins in a brownstone.
There is somebody staring at me from that fifth floor window up there.
He's a priest. He's kind of senile. He just sits by the window. He's blind.
I am here, Holy Father. I have come that you may shed your burden in peace.
Allison Parker. Young. Beautiful. What happens to her will happen to no other human in this lifetime.
Open up, surprise, 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 surprise. Now, everybody listen, I want you to meet Allison Parker. She just moved into 2A.
My dear Miss Parker, aside from the priest and now, of course, you, nobody has lived in that building for 3 years.
She went to a party with 8 dead murderers.
There is danger.
Oh, God. My guardian, please help me.
Through me, you go among people lost.
This film has so many actors.
Bad shit crazy.
It is bad shit crazy. And there are so many people. It stars Chris Sarandon would be the most recognizable name out of the actual people that are fully in the movie.
That's true, okay.
But someone that's still going strong till today would be Mr. Jeff Goldblum, who's in the movie wearing magical outfits. He's a photographer. He probably has, if you had to like take a good guess, maybe 15 minutes for the whole film. Like if you put all the scenes together.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe if that. He's very young.
So is Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon is also very young. So young, he looks like a Spaniard. It's very.
He has the kind of like the creepy mustache. At the time, it probably wasn't creepy, but now it's like a creepy mustache.
Yeah, it's a really thin mustache. It makes him look very Spanish.
Also, he kind of looks like a molester in some outfits.
Yeah. I did not want to dance with him in a dark nightclub while he had this mustache. I was like, please shave this. Please. It should have actually had his own movie, the mustache.
Yeah.
I feel like that was probably the scariest part of the movie.
It's one of them.
Also, in the midst of all these people...
We've only talked about one so far.
Well, Jeff Goldblum. How dare you forget about Jeff Goldblum? We just discussed him.
2. We've talked about 2 so far. We haven't even got into it all.
And also, we talked about the mustache.
Okay,
I feel
so
like
3.
that's a supporting actor. You have Beverly D'Angelo, and
as you've never seen her before.
Oh yeah, we will tap into that. Pun intended.
Griswold is nasty.
She sure is. Ava Gardner, for anyone that knows anything about classic, or I should say old Hollywood, she was a very well-known actress back in her day. And on a sidewalk, next to a girl with a red sweater, is someone that you would not think that would be in this movie.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss, you've been in Jaws already. How are you in this movie?
Yeah, he's uncredited and it's on his IMDb. I don't know if it's really him. We will be uploading a photo of it on our Instagram sometime.
Do you think maybe he was
week.
filming another movie and they just caught him in the background of filming the other movie? Because it was New York in the 70s. They were probably just doing a lot of movies, and then they didn't realize until later, like, oh, look, we got Richard Dreyfuss in our shot.
He's like macking to some girl who looks like a model. It's very strange, and it's such a quick shot. I had to go back into the movie to find this, and when I found it, I paused it, of course, to see the image, and it's like his stature is correct. the look is correct. I'm like, it looks like him, but is it really him? If I were to meet him, even if he would even remember, because this film came out in when 77. It was that was a long time ago. I don't know if he remembers 77, especially if he's going off like the high of Jaws. Who knows? Was he on coke? I have so many questions.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he was just a friend of the director, friend of somebody on there that they were just like, hey, can you just stand here while we do this?
Well, the novel of the same name came out in 1974, and maybe he was a fan of the novel.
Maybe he was a fan of the novel. Who knows?
Maybe he was. It's a weird film, and
we haven't even finished who all's in it yet.
Oh, I was done.
Oh no, we're not done.
Oh, there is. Okay.
We've got a few more people to talk about. Besides Jeff Goldblum, Chris Sarandon, Ava Gardner, Sarandon's mustache, we also have a very young Christopher Walken, who has about 3 lines in the movie, but he's featured prominently. He's just kind of walking around being a police detective, which you're so used to seeing Christopher Walken be crazy now that you were just waiting the whole time for him to, like, rip out a gun or a knife and start shooting or stabbing people. But it's weird when you see him just, like, being quiet and restrained. Like, yeah, how can I help you? I'm Christopher Walken. You're like, oh, okay, this is not crazy Christopher Walken. This is normal Christopher Walken. Okay, sorry. And he also has his partner. You have Eli Wallach from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He was the ugly, in case you're wondering.
I didn't even know who that person was, so that's why I was like, I have no other actors to mention, and completely forgot about Christopher Walken because he is completely under the radar in this film. He doesn't even have a speaking part when you first see him on the screen.
Yeah, it takes him 2 or 3 scenes before he speaks. You've also got, excuse me, you also have Burgess Meredith, the Penguin from Batman, from the old Adam West series. Mm-hmm. He's in there playing a very interesting character. We'll get into that later. And then at the end, in a role just credited as man at the end of movie, literally man at the end of movie, is Tom Berenger, who I guess he had a couple of lines, so they had to credit him. But yeah, so you got all kinds of people showing up in this movie for just random, no reasons at all.
The actor of the film is Christina Rains. I have no idea what she actually did. I've never seen her before. She is playing a model, and she's dating Chris Sarandon, who is a lawyer. And you come to find out that she had some incident a couple of years before.
Yeah, she did.
And well, I'm not talking about that incident, but I'm talking about the other incident. She had a lot of incidences.
She's had an interesting life, let's just say that.
And she wants, the film is very strange because the opening of the film is like a montage of their relationship all around New York. And as a New Yorker, it was awesome to see. I love to see New York on film, in any film. But in this one, you get to see old New York. And, old New York has its pros and cons. There's graffiti and garbage everywhere. But they did a beautiful job of not showing us, because this film is actually set in parts in Manhattan where he lives. And then she's in Brooklyn Heights, before became gentrified. Brooklyn overall in the Bronx, but so it's nice to see New York. For me, it's the other supporting part of the film, because this film has mostly to do with a certain building and what's happening in this apartment complex, which is strange. And someone made a comment. When we were looking through researching, someone made a comment that this was not the only apartment to have a gateway to something. Lo and behold, over the green there, the Central Park, you had someone else that had another doorway. That was Dana Barrett.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, oh my goodness, guys, you're just getting so nerdy right now. You gotta love it. So she's having some issues in her life, and she's, there's a weird montage of like how awesome their relationship is, and they're like in the park and they're doing like they're
taking handsome cab rides around, just laying around on blankets, pulling daisies apart, laughing, giggling, carrying on. It's almost like a Massengale commercial for a minute.
That's exactly what it looks like.
But then you find out that, she loves Chris Sarandon. He's a wealthy lawyer. He has a nice apartment. He wants to move her into a bigger apartment with him, but she's not ready to move in with him yet because of the incident.
At the same time, she's looking at really shitty apartments.
Which, by the way, I love the New York apartment that she's going to look at that's like 2,000 square feet, like overlooking Central Park. It's like, this will be $500 a month.
I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, right now I'll take it.
Even Chris Sarandon's apartment, like the freaking fancy ass one that's overlooking like Central Park, they're like, that's gonna be $700, and he's like, I guess I'll call you. And
I'll look around.
Excuse me, we're taking both apartments,
Yeah,
okay?
We'll have
both of them. I need the vaulted ceilings. Like, the fucking stairwell, like, one of them had, like, the staircase that goes upstairs, like,
that was in her apartment. We never actually saw what was up there. We just saw the stairs going up, but she never went up there.
I think that was her bedroom.
No, because her bedroom was on the ground floor.
I don't know. I think she was just sleeping around in the floor a lot.
No, she was in a bed.
She was having those weird dreams. She was waking up in random places. So, she doesn't want to be with him. She wants to find her own apartment. She wants to be with him, but not in that sense. And let me tell you that the things that happen in this movie are uncomfortable. They're strange. I was like, what is this movie? It's more of a drama than it is a horror film. It's like one of those films like where it's like the whole beginning, like the whole like first hour of the film is just like, oh my god, it's like molasses. And then like the last 20 or 30 minutes of the film, like shit is hitting the fan left and right, and you're like covered in shit, and you're like, just what just happened? Like, what just happened to me?
Yeah, like, she goes to check out this apartment building, and this is one of those things where they're like, oh, it's $500 a month. She goes, oh, I can't afford $500. They're like, did I say 5? I meant 4. Okay, first of all, anytime you deal with a real estate agent that negotiates down, you know there's something wrong with that property.
And also, it's fully furnished, and the furniture looks like it belongs to, like, modern 70s Dracula.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrible.
Like I love the giant mirror that's like when you open the front door to the apartment, which the front door to the apartment is roughly the size of a garage door, and it slides into the wall.
It is fucking huge. It looks like she's like going to like fucking like the top. What is it in Lord of the Rings when they go to like that one place?
Oh, the underground city.
It's huge. This door is huge. Yes, the underground city. This door is massive. I'm like, Haggard could have fucking walked in this door, and his brother could have walked in there. Like, it was ridiculously large.
So she moves into the apartment, and the first thing that happens is Burgess Meredith comes along and introduces her to his cat and his canary that he brought with him. He walks in her apartment without really being asked, looks around, and leaves a framed photograph of himself and the cat and the canary behind. Now that is a really slick move right there that I feel more people should like imitate now. Like when you come to visit someone, just leave a framed photo of yourself behind, and then they're like, did he just leave this behind? No, we must have had this and just forgot about it, but we just met him today. How did this happen? It must be fate.
Beware, friends and family. We plan to leave many photos behind. They're going to be of us wearing random articles of clothing and wigs. So it's going to be some crazy photos for you to see. Because I was like, that photo's been there the whole time? Because the whole place is furnished. So it's like, how can you distinguish what was there and what wasn't there? And he kept going on how like awesome the apartment was decorated. She at no point was like, it was already furnished. She just took the fucking credit for it.
Oh yeah, she was just like, oh thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Because I did so much hard work of me bringing my bra and my patent leather shoes and my polyester suit skirt pantsuit that I have.
To be fair, that might have been in the apartment too in the 70s. Those were just standard issue in all apartments and houses. You had a polyester suit for men. It was a unisex suit.
Let me tell you, now that I'm really thinking about it, New York is a fucked up place to live in when you're in a horror movie. You got Rosemary's Baby going on.
Yeah.
You got this fucking The Sentinel going on. Then you got Ghostbusters. I mean, there's just like no area. Oh, then upstate New York, I'm pretty sure. You got, or is it, no, in Rhode Island. You got Amityville. Is that in Rhode Island?
Yeah, I believe so.
Somewhere over there. It's close to New York. We're just gonna say it's fucking New York. That's going on. It's just like, can I get, do you go further up? Maine. Just where, I guess if it's cold, you're gonna have some really messed up stuff going on.
Yeah, the colder it gets, the scarier it gets.
Yeah, it's kind of like Florida Man here in Florida. Like, the heat makes all the men crazy and do crazy things. And then the cold makes, demons and witches and all kinds of... They want
to get up there and cool down. They've been in hell all this time. So
vortexes open up over there up north.
But yeah, so that's one of her neighbors. So then a couple days later, she goes to meet the downstairs neighbors.
I would like to actually take over this part while you just sit and listen and stare at my eyeballs.
Okay.
While I go into detail about what occurs in this, because we were dying of laughter. If you don't want to watch the whole movie, just go. It was on Amazon Prime?
No, we had a DVD of it.
Oh, yeah, we did have the DVD, but I feel like it's somewhere. I think it's on YouTube. We'll
somewhere you can find it.
Yeah, we'll post where you can find it later on Instagram, but yeah, we own it. Shad's selection. Let me just say that it was super disturbing. We were just cracking up, but I was so uncomfortable. I was like, I'm glad I wasn't sitting in a movie theater with, like, my mom watching this, because that would have been awkward.
Or can you imagine you go on a first date to that movie?
Oh, and then the guy gets, like, all turned on and weird, and
yeah,
and then it's the 70s, so, like, all kinds of things are happening in the movie theater at that point. So Allison, who's Christina Rains, she walks in. She just happens to be, she has her groceries at hand, is walking by the apartment, about to go upstairs to hers, and she sees her neighbor's door ajar. At this point, she feels comfortable enough to just waltz into this apartment that she's never even been to.
Sure.
And just say, hello, hello, hello. And no one is around. And finally, this older woman dressed in, like, old dancewear. She's wearing, like, a leotard and, like, the whole, like, the shoes and the tap shoes and the whole, like, get up with the fucking...
She looked like a judge in Flashdance.
Yes, but, like, an old-ass judge. Really old. She comes in and she greets her, and right behind her, maybe, like, a minute or two later, after she's offered her tea and she's told her to sit down, here comes Beverly D'Angelo.
Ooh.
And she's wearing a similar outfit, but her outfit is red. She's very quiet. She actually doesn't speak at all.
Yeah, I don't think she has any lines.
No, she doesn't in the whole film, which is weird because they named her. Usually they don't give a name to...
Yeah, non-speaking part.
Non-speaking part.
But I guess considering what she's about to do.
Yeah, well, her name is Sandra in the film. Sandra... The other lady goes off to, go get crumpets or some shit and the rest of the stuff. She leaves Sandra and Allison looking at one another. There's Allison, her little modeled self, holding her groceries.
Which always, as in all movie, in true movie fashion, there's a, French bread sticking out of the top of the sack. Like, there has to be.
Yes, there has to be French bread. I think there was also a stick of celery. There's always, like, a greenery.
Yeah.
You gotta get all the food groups.
Yeah, sticking out. You see that, like, oh, okay, she can have some bread and some celery. Cool.
Yeah, she's healthy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she's a healthy model. We're not gonna say, like, oh, she's bulimic,
Yeah.
She's eating bread. And then Beverly D'Angelo just, all of a sudden, starts touching herself.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I would like to reenact this video, but I will not be doing this. Because it is very crazy. She's looking right at Christina, just like I'm staring at you right now, Shad. She's staring like snake eyes, like
Yeah,
right
she's
at
making
her.
direct eye contact, and the whole time that she starts just two-hand masturbating, she never breaks eye contact.
No, she doesn't. And she never speaks. And she's wearing clothes the whole time. So she's on top masturbating. And she cups her vagina. So she goes with the one hand. And she's waxing on, waxing off with the one hand.
Yeah.
Going around and around. And then she's like, you know what? This is a two-hand job. Then she goes with the other hand, starts massaging that in. I was like, is she kneading like dough? Like, what is going on down there? Mind you, still locked eyes. And then she cups her vagina with both hands. Okay, she starts working it on there. Then she puts her hands up to her face and, like Mary Gallagher style, smells her essence.
And the model, like Christina Rain, is just there. Is like she keeps kind of looking away, and then finally it's like, well, I should probably go.
Once the lady comes back into the room, I don't understand. I understand, like, okay, Emily Post, it's impolite to just rush off and leave. But when the person is in front of you, literally masturbating over their clothes, I feel like all the Emily Post, like, fucking manners are out the fucking window. Yeah. You're running for your life at this point because she sits there the whole time.
Emily Post never wrote a chapter on what to do about public, host masturbation.
No, host masturbation is not chapter 13 in her fucking book. I'm going to tell you that right now.
So she leaves and they just never speak of this again, which I guess is fair because if that happened to me, I would never speak of it again to anyone.
I also would never speak of it again. And the scene it seemed like it was 20 minutes, but it was really probably like 5 minutes.
It was very uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, this is going on forever.
But it's hilarious. So I feel like everyone needs to just watch this scene because it is really, really funny. And the fact that she's just sitting there the whole time, like, taking it just blows my mind. Like, what was she thinking? Why didn't she get up?
And just imagine filming the movie too. Think about how many times they probably had to do that scene, and she had to act every time like, oh, no big deal. Oh, okay, you're going for it. Oh, it's gonna look away. Oh, she's not breaking eye contact. Like, how do you do that multiple times?
I don't know, man. Beverly D'Angelo, did she get an Oscar for that performance? Because I would have just given it to her. Like, that was amazing.
I feel like anybody had to sit and watch that multiple times deserves an Oscar if they had to act in it.
And then the makeup they do on her, she has like the kind of like eyeliner all around her eye, and she has like light eyes, and she looks like a deer in the headlights. And she's very thin. I mean, this is not like Griswold Family times Beverly D'Angelo, which she still looked good there. This is like way before that, and she's very thin, and her hair's like frizzy. Oh my goodness. And then like, I guess she really had to get in there because at that time no one was shaving, so there was like a whole mesh of bush that she had to like work through.
Yeah, it was intense.
And she's wearing the leotard, and she's wearing the stockings. There's like all these fabrics, and then like bush. So it's not like, that's why she had to get in there with the two hands. Because and then she was like, it wasn't even lightly touching, guys. It was like deep in there. But anyways, enough of that.
Okay,
we have to move forward. Because
moving forward, the next event that she gets invited to in the apartment building is Burgess Meredith comes and invites her to the birthday party for his cat.
Yeah, I feel like this part of the movie, I was scared for her. I was like, please do not go into this apartment. It's very scary. But also at the same time, I'm like, I wish I was at the cat party.
Yeah, the cat party's there. Burgess Meredith is there with the cat, who's wearing a birthday hat. I believe he's wearing a little scarf, too.
Yeah, he is wearing a little scarf and a little birthday hat. The cat is not Burgess Meredith.
The women from downstairs are down there, and along with a whole assortment of other strange, weird people.
Pretty sure they're wearing the same clothes, too.
Yeah, they might be dressed the same. Yeah, it's the creepiest cat birthday party I've ever seen. I've only been to two others besides the one I've seen here, but I digress. So they're having the creepy cat birthday party. They all decide to dance the polka, like you do at a cat birthday party. And then doesn't she pass out?
she's been having moments where she's been passing out throughout like a certain part of the film when she's off having her she's having like an on-site like modeling photo shoot. Yeah, she passes out and then she passes out again. She's constantly passing out. There's like a sharp pain, which they never tell you what's going on with that.
Yeah.
And why she's getting it at all. She's having a sharp pain in the back of the head. Now, she went through kind of a traumatic experience when she was a teenager. This is kind of brought up because she finds out, actually, I think this is actually what happens before she moves into the apartment, but she finds out that her father has passed away. And by her visiting her house, which I thought was the mortuary or the, funeral home or whatever, because this place was fucking massive and really fancy. So, I knew they were wealthy, so I figured this was like a fancy place where they were having like the viewing and whatnot. It actually turns out to be her home, her mom's home. She has a flashback of her as a teenager coming home from school, hearing some weird things. She's just like a Catholic schoolgirl. She's hearing some like weird like noise, whatever. She goes to investigate, and when she opens the door, she finds her very skinny, old, creepy looking ass father, buck naked, in bed with two women that were not her mother, one fat lady and one thin lady. So I have to give it to the dad. He was about the ladies, period. He liked them all different sizes. He was about women in general. And he stands up. She screams out because she's disgusted. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm just seeing my dad's dick everywhere. Like, there's two like women's with their floppy titties everywhere. Like, what the fuck is going on? Where's mom? Like, what's going on? And he decides he's gonna like literally run out of the bed and slap her like I've never seen a woman slap before. He
gave her like the cartoon, like backhand, front hand, backhand, front hand.
Yeah, and her hair's long, so her hair's like whipping back and forth all over the place. And then she, goes off and decides, oh, this is too much for me, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom and slit my wrists. And that was the incident we were speaking of earlier. Well,
no,
one
of the incidents.
One of the incidents.
Now, you also discover that Chris Sarandon had a wife that she was having an affair with him, and that the wife killed herself, or was murdered. Well, we find out later was murdered. At the time, I thought that the wife had killed herself, and she decided to try to kill herself again when that happened because she blamed herself for the affair. But, it was her fault. She was having an affair with a married guy, so,
Well, I mean, the lady has control of her emotions, but yes. And, this apartment, there's all weird stuff going about. She goes back to see the realtor, who is Ava Gardner. She goes and she's, they're going out for coffee, and she starts telling her that she's been hearing some weird sounds and the neighbors are weird and whatever. Ava Gardner's like, this is what you like brought me over here to discuss. I thought she was gonna be like, look, yo, I just sold you like the apartment and I'm done with you. Like, there's nothing more to discuss. But no, it was more than that. She takes her back to the apartment and in this process tells her, yeah, no one else lives here besides you. And we conveniently forgot to mention, creepy old priest man that's blind but looks out the window all day. That's what he does all day, is look out the window. You're the only two people that live in the apartment, and they go to each apartment that Allison has visited. The cat party, the lesbian dancer, Russian dancers, or whatever they were. And these are furnished apartments. So they're furnished, but there's like cobwebs. One of the apartments doesn't have like the exact same furniture she had when she had entered. So now you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, she saw these people, she interacted with them, but no one else lives here? And of course the realtor's like, yeah, so you all right? Like, what's going on with you? You were dreaming? We think you're dreaming. You were dreaming.
So as it goes on, you discover, as they spoil for you on most of the posters and box art for this movie, that the apartment building is over the doorway to hell. and that the Catholic Church appoints or selects a guardian, a sentinel, that will sit and guard this and keep everyone from coming out of the apartment building, all the demons, the devil. But you kind of get the hint. To me, they kind of implied that the Burgess Meredith character, that he was the devil.
Yes.
Because he started leading the charge against her later, like trying to tempt her, and discovered that all the people that have become the Sentinels have all tried to kill themselves at one point.
Yes.
So they would have been damned to hell, but I guess by becoming the Sentinel, they escape being damned to hell, but they have to spend the rest of their life guarding the doorway to hell.
Now, we find all of this out because Chris Sarandon is a good boyfriend, and he believes his girlfriend that she's going through it and what she's seeing is real, and he's just trying to get to the bottom of it because he really loves this woman. Like, from the beginning of the film, he's like, I want to marry you, like, and she's like, oh, whatever. I don't know what her issue is, like.
But you gotta remember, did he love the wife that he killed to be with her that much at some point?
He didn't kill the wife?
Yeah, he did.
Wait, that was a reveal?
Yes, remember, he said, later on, I paid Brenner to kill my wife.
Oh, yeah, okay. But technically, he didn't kill her.
Yeah, come on now.
Okay, whatever. So, oh yeah, that would explain why later that happens to him. Okay, so, reveal. Oh my god, I didn't know that Chris Sarandon. I can't see Chris Sarandon do bad things, even when he's trying to freaking, like, go after William Ragsdale and, like, what's her face? Amy. I'm like,
Amanda Beers.
Thank you. I'm like, her name is Amy. That's her name. And Fright Night, I'm like, no, he's a good guy. I love him. He's so hot. He's eating apples all the time. So, yes, this is all happening, and it's so wild to, like, think, like, who the fuck came up with this idea? Like, what is going on in this novel that you're gonna make this place, like, the gateway to, like, hell? And Burgess Meredith is the devil, who's, like, 4 or 5. He's hanging around with, like, a fucking tuxedo cat and, like, a parakeet. Like, it's like Sylvester and, like, Tweety Bird.
Yeah,
literally.
It really is, yeah. And then he decides to bring out the people to try and, like, intimidate her and scare her. And they bring out a whole group of people that are actually deformed in one way or another. Apparently, from what I read several things online about this, that this caused a little bit of a controversy at the time because they're all very obviously deformed in one way or another.
Yeah, this is not special effects makeup. These are actually people that have actual deformities. You can tell by looking at them. I mean, it was a very shocking moment. And like I said, it's not like until like the last 20 or 30 minutes of the film that it completely takes a different toll. Like, it becomes, to me, a horror film. Because there had been little things here and there, but it was mostly like a thriller, like a drama thriller. Because you got Chris Sarandon, like, going around hiring, like, private detectives and trying to find, and you got, like, the Catholic Church involved, and there's, like, weird priests walking around wearing rings and, like, whispering in the fucking shadows, and you don't really know what's going on. I feel like this is one of those
things that would have been a good, like, hour-long Tales from the Crypt kind of thing. If you had cut out a lot of parts of it and then just had it be her in the apartment, you could have had, like, a good solid hour Tales from the Crypt episode, you know?
Yeah, and then you got all these people coming out the woodwork. Chris Sarandon goes to, like, figure out what's going on before all the people get released, and he tries to kill the Sentinel that's at the helm, the blind man that's looking out the window, and the priest, the other priest that's coming actually, like, from the Brotherhood or whatever, he comes and he, like, kills Chris Sarandon. Chris Sarandon now is part of this group of the deformed people that are coming towards Allison to try to get her to kill herself.
I absolutely love the part where they show a close-up of Chris Sarandon and he stands stock still, and you can see the little, like, strings that are attached to his face where they rip off the pieces of his face where he's supposedly been killed by the guy, and you can just whip off the pieces. You're like, oh, that wasn't subtle at all.
Yeah, someone needed to remove that. They did not do a good job.
They did not have CGI back then.
No, they did not. And, you know, just, of course, you can't just have, you know, these demons coming out of this apartment complex. So she has to make a decision. Is she gonna like kill herself, or is she gonna like, do this thing? And of course, there's like good versus evil like standoff, and here comes like, who is it? Like, what's Carradine?
John Carradine.
Carradine.
Was that man ever young? Like, he looked like he was 200 years old in this movie, and I don't think he died for another like 10 years after this.
And I don't think he was wearing special contacts. I think his eyes were just normally white.
Yeah.
Like, he just comes out like with his white eyes, holding literally a smaller version of the cross from the fog.
Yeah, I think maybe they cut part of that off and just gave it to that part of the Catholic Church to use. Yeah, he's swinging the gold cross around, doing the "Get thee behind me, Satan."
Yes, and of course, because he's blind, the other priest is like pushing him forward so he can go through the crowd of like all the demons that are like grabbing onto the cross.
I kind of thought the other priest was working him like a puppet because he was so old he couldn't do much of anything. He was just using his body, like working him around like a big puppet. Like, okay, work the arms, swing, swing. He only weighed like 80 pounds, so it wouldn't have been difficult.
That's exactly what it looked like. And, Allison has to make the choice. And, of course, she grabs onto the fog cross and, immediately takes her seat at the helm. And it becomes the next Sentinel.
She's just going to sit there and look out the window and do not, I guess, like, until they start to get near the end of their life, everything's contained. But when they get near the end of their life, that's when the new Guardian's going to arrive. That's when the creepy dance people come out of the bottom, and you find out that all the people in the building were murderers, and that they had all come up from hell to just torment her. It's a very strange movie.
It's very strange. I don't know what kind of drugs this person was when they wrote this novel, or what kind of life crisis they were going through, but it's very weird. And then I wonder in the novel where they're like, and now deformed people just come out the woodworks and try to attack Allison. Like, is that what's going on?
I actually got this it's a 3 DVD set. It comes 3 movies in one. It's got The Sentinel, The Legacy, which we're going to watch eventually. It's another creepy witch movie that involves a cat.
I started watching that mistakenly because it's one of those weird, like, you gotta turn, like, it's a half disc. Like, when you go on the main menu, you have to choose. And I chose the wrong knife. And then I was like, wait a second. Why is this girl have, like, a Georginian, like, hairstyle and Victorian look? Like, what is going on? I just literally threw two different eras of clothing. But I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, this must be the Legacy one.
Yeah, and then also the final movie in the set, if you want to look for it, I think you can still pick this up on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. It's the one where they turn Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica into a snake.
Yes.
Which I don't think we'll ever watch that one because I've tried to get through that one a few times and I can't. I know there's like both the Legacy and the Sentinel have very detailed collector's editions from Scream Factory, but if you just want to watch them, look for this set because it's pretty cheap. It's like $4.99 on Amazon when I got it, and it's good. It's a good copy just to watch them.
Yeah, I think there's some other podcasts out there that would probably do this because it's up their alley.
Yeah.
It's one of those where, like, you either have to have a group of people that are going to watch it and, like, get hammered and, like, just laugh at it.
Yeah, because it has some amazing scenes. I remember where at one point he's grabbed and he's doing like the snake bite on people, where he's like flinging his whole like upper body at people and biting them.
That sounds absolutely terrible.
It is. I don't want to watch that one for the podcast, but that is The Sentinel from 1977, and if we haven't terrified you away from it by now, I don't know what's going to.
Yeah, you got Jeff Goldblum taking photographs, wearing army, like, jumpsuits. You got Chris Sarandon walking around with, like, a borderline Hitler-esque, like,
mustache.
Weird,
we also forgot
cigarette mustache.
We also forgot that there's one scene that features Jerry Orbach, who I know from Law and Order. And from
Dirty Dancing.
He's the one that put
really in there.
Yeah, he's the one that put Baby in a corner.
He did, and then took her out of the court immediately after he was reprimanded.
He's also the voice of Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast. He's actually, strangely enough, a really talented singer.
That's really weird. Well, he's dead now, so he was a talented singer.
Yeah.
So bless his soul. Yeah, he's so young, and he's playing like the dick, like
the asshole photographer.
Yeah, the asshole like photographer, like just big time. But he's oddly young in here. I saw him and I was like, I feel wrong because I've seen him old for so long that looking at him young was just like
It's the hair. He's got really dark black hair in this, and the rest of the things he always had gray hair.
Yeah, and then he looks like shorter, but he was still tall. It was very weird.
Yeah, he was odd. He's an odd looking guy.
There's a lot of weird random people in this film.
Yeah, even people in the background you'll see are just kind of, you're like, oh, that guy. Oh, look at that guy.
I wish I would have, when I met Chris Sarandon, I wish I would have known about this film and have asked him about it. You met him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you ask him about this movie?
No, I had seen this a long time ago, but I'd kind of forgotten about it. And I saw it on cable one night. And the cable version is vastly different. There's a lot of the stuff that's cut out. Obviously, they don't show the masturbation scene on cable, or you don't see the naked freaks and all that running around.
Yeah, and you do see Mr. Skins. You do see Beverly D'Angelo like naked later on in the weird like "We're coming for you, Barbara" like dream sequence where everyone is naked and taunting her.
Yeah,
and Chris Sarandon's like weird, and I was gonna say he's holding the cat, but I think he holds the cat in the end. He's wearing a like white tuxedo, wearing the black and white.
It's like a beige tuxedo. It's like a beige suit. It's like your beige leisure suit, you know.
It's what were they thinking? What was going on in this movie? I
want to get the book now and read the book. And there's actually a sequel to the book too, apparently.
Oh yeah, you did show me that sequel. Looked insane, but it sounded terrible. Just like. It's called The Guardian, isn't it?
Yeah. The Sentinel and The Guardian.
Oh, goodness.
The next one's called The Guardians. They're just going to keep the Sentinel Guardians. They're just going to keep making them weird, adding new titles as it goes.
The Sen Guardians.
Oh, yeah, there's good. The Gentinels.
The Gentinels. That's exactly what they're going to call it.
This is one of those guys that he probably had like one small hit with this book and then just kept trying to milk it for sequels.
Now that we're done discussing this film, I feel like we do have to mention that something very sad has occurred in the TV world or the streaming world, whatever, I guess the streaming world. We found out just yesterday that, or maybe today, I don't know, all the days are blending.
It was yesterday.
That Swamp Thing has been canceled after one episode.
By the time you hear this, it'll have already been a couple of weeks since it's been canceled, but... yeah, it was canceled faster than this episode could come out.
It was like literally the episode started and it was like the opening sequence of the episode and they were like canceled.
Yeah. So I've read a couple things, but it just seems like they didn't have a lot of faith in the show, that they didn't think it was going to do very well, and that they weren't, which I think everybody's been wanting the Swamp Thing movie or TV show now for 30 years. You'd think they would have caught on to that, but who knows with these people. DC just cannot get their act together when it comes to their adaptions. Just watch the Marvel movies. Do what they did. It's not that simple. It's just that simple.
Yeah, does DC stand for dumb cunts?
It may, because they really don't know what they're doing at all.
I don't get it. I saw, the teaser. And then when they showed the full-length trailer, it looked very promising and very, horror-esque. I liked what I had seen. Maybe this is one of these things where they're hoping, like, oh, maybe Netflix will pick us up. Somebody has to pick this thing up because it's just like you literally, like, did all the episodes.
Yeah, you sunk all this money into, there's still got to be costumes and stuff laying around for this. So, because it was largely practical effects.
Yeah, how far did they get into? Did they film everything, or did they just film like half a season?
They have 10 episodes, so they did. They were supposed to do 13, and they stopped at 10. They are like, I guess, as it was in production, they decided to only do 10. And supposedly there's something about a tax credit in the state they were filming it in that they decided that the state cut them off from it, said, no, you're not going to get that credit, and that's why they canceled it. But come on, DC, you're $1 billion company. You can afford to make a show without a tax credit.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing sounds shady, and hopefully somebody picks it up. It can't go to the wayside. It's just such a shame. But well, that's what
Another
happens.
DC failure.
Yeah, another, just add it onto the list of failures, DC. Like, just you're doing a bad job. I don't understand what's going on over there.
Yeah, people who can't just follow a simple formula, apparently.
Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of A Jump Scare. I'm Betty B. Deadly.
I'm Shad Youngblood.
And stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.